Story Hash 1. The Man on the Roof. My name is Patrick McCabe, and there was a period in my life when I stopped feeling human. It started with something simple, something almost boring. My teeth. They had always been bad, not just crooked, but severely damaged. Years of dental problems built up into one unavoidable reality. I needed my wisdom teeth removed, and I waited too long. Most people get it done in high school, maybe early college. I didn't even book a consultation until after I had graduated. That decision changed my life in a way I still don't fully understand. The surgery itself wasn't the worst part. It was what came after. The pain. It wasn't the normal kind of soreness people describe. It was relentless. The kind of pain that wakes you up like you've been shocked with electricity. The kind that makes your eyes water before you even know you're awake. I couldn't sleep longer than 3 hours at a time. So I built a system. Every 3 hours alarm. Wake up. Take medication. Switch between prescriptions. Lay back down. Repeat. Every 3 hours. Night after night. My body adapted to the rhythm of artificial waking. My mind started to blur the line between sleeping and being awake. I would drift off and surface constantly, like I was drowning, but never fully sinking. After a week of that cycle, I didn't feel like myself anymore. I felt displaced, like something in me was slightly off-center. And then came the heat. 4:00 a.m. I woke up to take my medication again. But this time, I couldn't fall back asleep. My room felt suffocating. The air was heavy. The AC had stopped working. Or maybe it had just given up trying to cool the summer air. I lay there, sweating, staring at the ceiling, waiting for exhaustion to pull me under. It didn't. So I opened my window. I never sleep with my window open. I never sleep with my window open. That detail matters. Because that's when I heard it. At first, it was faint. A scraping sound. Soft, irregular, like claws dragging across something rough. I told myself it was an animal. We lived near woods. Raccoons, stray cats. It wouldn't be unusual. But the sound didn't behave like an animal. It moved slowly, purposefully, above me, on the roof. I held my breath and listened. The scraping continued, then shifted, traveling across the roofline. Something was up there. And it wasn't light. I should have ignored it. I should have stayed in bed. But I knew my dad would lose it if something burrowed into the attic again. So I got up, grabbed one of his heavy-duty flashlights from the garage, and stepped outside. The backyard was silent. Too silent. I stood below my bedroom window and swept the beam across the lower roof line. Nothing. No animal, no movement. So I walked toward the front of the house, where the roof rises higher. And that's when I saw something shift. Just barely. At the edge of the beam, I snapped the flashlight toward it. And I stopped breathing. There was a person standing on our roof. Not crouched. Not hiding. Standing. Completely still. Naked, standing, completely still, frozen in the beam of my flashlight. For a second, I couldn't process it. My brain tried to replace the image with something logical. It failed. I screamed. And the second the sound left my mouth, the figure moved. Fast, unnaturally fast. The way they reacted to the light was wrong, like it burned them. They scrambled across the shingles barefoot, with a speed that didn't make sense. I tried tracking them with the flashlight, but they blurred into the darkness. They moved toward the back of the house, toward my window, and without thinking, I ran. I don't know why I chased them. Instinct, maybe. Fear turning into aggression. I shouted for my dad. I rounded the corner just in time to see the figure crouch at the roof's edge. They jumped. There was no hesitation. They dropped from that height straight onto the concrete below. The sound. I will never forget that sound. It should have ended them. It didn't. They hit the ground, paused, then stood up and charged at me. The impact knocked me flat. Before I could react, hands were clawing at my face. They weren't punching, they weren't striking. They were clawing, like an animal trying to blind its prey. I remember the smell. I remember the sound of breathing that didn't match human rhythm. I fought back, kicking, yelling, but the strength behind those hands was overwhelming. Warmth ran down my face, my vision blurred. For a moment, I genuinely believed that was it. Then the back door exploded open. My dad, he pulled the man off me with everything he had. They struggled. I scrambled backward across the stone, and I saw him clearly for the first time. His skin looked wrong. Not injured, not deformed, just stretched too tight in some places and sagging in others. His eyes were unfocused. Wild, he tore free from my dad's grip, and instead of attacking again, he ran. He scaled the backyard fence in seconds, disappeared into the woods. Gone. The hospital was a blur of lights and questions. I had lost a lot of blood. They cleaned the wounds, ran tests, gave preventative shots. The doctors asked if I knew the attacker. I didn't. Police searched the area briefly. They said the woods were too large to comb through effectively. They asked if we had security cameras. We didn't. My dad later found something that made my stomach turn. The man had been digging into the attic, just like an animal would. He hadn't been standing up there randomly. He was trying to get inside. We never found out who he was, or how long he had been watching the house. The worst part, the noises never truly stopped. Sometimes, late at night, I still wake up, and for a split second, I expect to hear Scra ping above me. Story 2. The hallway. If you have never seen my house, it's hard to explain. The front door isn't directly outside. There's a covered exterior hallway you have to walk through first, like stepping into the mouth of the house before reaching its throat. And my bedroom window, it faces that hallway. If someone stands at the front door, I can see the back of their head from my bed. They would never know. I used to think that was cool. Until it wasn't. A few months after the roof incident, my parents went out of town. For the first time in a while, the house felt normal again. Quiet, safe. I invited my girlfriend, Anna, to stay over. We weren't party people. Just movies, snacks, wine. Normal. The first night passed without issue. The second night didn't. Around midnight, as we were talking in the dark, I heard something, a dragging sound. Metal scraping pavement. From the driveway. My dad's trash cans. I told Anna to stay in bed and went to check. The exterior lights didn't illuminate the driveway fully, so I stepped outside, phone flashlight in hand. One trash can was overturned. Garbage scattered. No animal in sight. I cleaned it up. Moved the cans into the garage, locked everything. Went back to bed. I was drifting into that half-dream state when I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. Soft, rhythmic. Metal on glass. My eyes opened. The tapping didn't stop. It wasn't inside. It wasn't inside. It wasn't inside. It was right outside my window. Slowly, I stood, pulled the curtain back slightly. There was someone standing at the front door, back-facing me, tapping lightly on the glass panel beside it, over and over, like they were politely waiting. At midnight, in total darkness, I watched, frozen. Then they began to turn. I ducked, heart hammering. I waited, counted to 30, then looked again. And I wish I hadn't, because this time, the face wasn't at the door. It was inches from my window. Pressing toward the glass, watching me, the skin looked tight and uneven, the eyes unblinking, not aggressive, not angry, just aware. I screamed, fell backward, locked my bedroom door, called the police. They searched everything, found nothing. No forced entry, no footprints, no sign anyone had been there. Anna refused to leave my side that night. The rest of the week passed quietly. Too quietly. My parents weren't overly concerned when I told them. But I couldn't shake the feeling because for the past few nights I've been waking up again to faint sounds outside my window, not trash cans, not scraping, something else. Subtle, measured, like someone testing the glass. My dad is installing cameras soon. I hope they catch something. Because if that face ever appears again, I need proof that I'm not losing my mind. And this is where things get worse. Because the next story, it isn't about someone outside the house. It's about someone inside. The 3 a.m. door. There are certain sounds your brain is not designed to hear inside your own house. A knock at the door during the day, normal. Footsteps in a hallway, when you live with family, expected. But when you live alone, and it's past 3 a.m., and your house is silent enough that you can hear your own pulse in your ears, footsteps inside your hallway are not just sounds. They are violations. I'm a single guy in my mid-30s. No pets, no roommates, no partner. Just me and a small one-story house. It's modest. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, kitchen, living room, tiny garage. That's it. Nothing complicated. No secret crawl spaces. No attic access from inside. No strange architecture. And I like it that way. Freedom has always been my thing. I work for myself. I choose my hours. I don't answer to anyone. If I want to stay up until sunrise and sleep until noon, I can. And I usually do. That's important. Because what happened that night didn't happen while I was dreaming. I was awake. Fully awake. 3:12 a.m. I was at my desk. Computer screen glowing in the dark. No music. No TV. Just the soft, repetitive tapping of my keyboard and the hum of electronics. You know that rare kind of focus where time doesn't exist? That's where I was. The world had narrowed to the task in front of me. Then it shattered. Footsteps. Heavy. Fast. Coming down the hallway toward my bedroom. There was no creak of a door opening, no warning. Just immediate, unmistakable movement. Before my brain could process it. Bang. 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 3 or 4 violent strikes against my bedroom door. Not knocking. Not hesitant tapping. Full force pounding. The kind of impact that makes the frame shake. The kind you imagine when police execute a warrant. I shot up so fast my knee slammed into the desk and my monitor tipped sideways. I didn't even feel the pain. Adrenaline erased it. I stood frozen, staring at the door, waiting for it to explode inward, waiting for someone to rush in, waiting for the worst. But it didn't happen. Silence. Absolute silence. No retreating footsteps. No door opening. Nothing. Just the faint hum of my computer. My breathing sounded too loud. I couldn't move. I don't mean I didn't want to move. I mean I physically could not move. It felt like sleep paralysis, except I was standing, conscious, terrified. Seconds stretched. Then, footsteps again. Walking away, down the hallway, casual, like whoever had just tried to break into my bedroom had suddenly decided they were done, and that snapped something in me. Fear turned into fury. I grabbed an empty glass bottle from my desk. I flung the door open, and I ran. I didn't try to be quiet. I screamed. Not words, just sound. A raw, primal yell meant to intimidate. I stormed down the hallway, heart hammering, bottle raised. I checked the living room. Empty. Kitchen. Empty. Bathroom. Empty. Front door. Locked. Back door. Locked. Windows. Locked. Every single one. The house was exactly as it had been. Except it wasn't. Because someone had just run through it. Someone had just run through it. Someone had pounded on my door. I know what I heard. There are sounds you can mistake. That wasn't one of them. I checked every corner, even inside the tiny garage. Nothing. No disturbance. No open window. No displaced object. Just stillness. The kind that makes you feel insane. The kind that makes you feel insane. The kind that whispers, maybe it was you. Maybe it was in your head. But it wasn't. I know it wasn't. I locked myself back inside my bedroom. Called the police. Explained everything. They arrived within 15 minutes. Lights flashing across my living room walls. We searched together, room by room, window by window. The officers were calm. Too calm. One of them eventually suggested that maybe someone had tried the door and left. I told him everything was locked. He said maybe I'd overlooked something, that maybe in the moment I hadn't noticed. I nearly lost it right there. Because here's the thing, when you live alone, locking up becomes ritual. You check everything, twice. You memorize the feeling of the handle, the click of the lock. I hadn't overlooked anything. But they found nothing. And eventually, they left. That week broke me. I barely slept. Every creak in the house became evidence. Every shift in temperature felt intentional. I would sit awake at night, staring at the hallway from my bed, waiting for the footsteps to return. They didn't, but that almost made it worse. Because now my brain had two equally terrifying options. 1. Someone had broken in and out without leaving a trace. 2. My mind had fabricated the entire event. Neither option felt survivable. I started questioning everything. Had I really heard footsteps? Yes. Had I really heard pounding? Yes. Then how? How does someone enter a sealed house, make noise, and vanish? I even considered the possibility of hidden access. Maybe an attic crawl space I didn't know about. Maybe a vent large enough for someone to slip through. I searched every inch of that house. Nothing. No entry point. No disturbance. No explanation. You want to know the worst part? It didn't happen again. Not the same way. No more banging. No more footsteps down the hall. Just subtle things, tiny anomalies. A door that felt slightly more open than I remembered. An object placed at a slightly different angle. Small enough to doubt, large enough to notice. And once you start noticing, you never stop. There's something psychological that happens when your home stops feeling safe. It rewires you. You sit differently. You listen constantly. You avoid turning your back to open spaces. Even now, months later, I can't sit at my desk without glancing over my shoulder. And here's what keeps me up at night. The footsteps walk toward my bedroom. Not the front door, not the kitchen. My bedroom. They knew where I was. They didn't check rooms. They didn't hesitate. They moved with purpose, straight down the hallway, straight to me, and pounded, as if testing, as if confirming, as if saying, I know you're in there. There's one more detail I haven't told anyone. Not the police, not friends, not even family. When the footsteps retreated that night, right before the silence returned, I thought I heard something else, very faint, almost lost beneath my own heartbeat. A slow exhale, right outside my door, not angry, not rushed, just breathing. I've considered moving more than once, but part of me refuses, because if I leave, then what happened wins. And I don't want to live like prey, so I stay. I double-check locks. I installed cameras. Nothing unusual has shown up. At least, not clearly. Sometimes there are flickers of motion at the edge of the frame. Probably insects. Probably light distortion. Probably. That word has become my lifeline. Probably. But here's what I know. There are moments late at night when I'm working in silence, and I feel it. That awareness, that subtle shift in the air. Like something is standing just beyond the hallway, listening, waiting, and sometimes When the house is at its quietest, I swear I can hear the faintest pressure against my bedroom door. Not knocking, not pounding. Just wait, resting there. If there's one thing I've learned from everything that's happened, the roof, the hallway, the door, it's this: you don't need monsters to be afraid. You just need the impossible. Something that doesn't follow rules. Something that doesn't leave evidence. Something that proves your home isn't sealed the way you thought it was. And once that realization sets in, you never truly relax again. If you're listening to this at night, pause for a second. Don't look around. Just listen. Is your house as silent as you think? Or is there a sound you've been ignoring? Something faint, something almost explainable. Almost because, sometimes, the scariest thing isn't seeing someone inside your house. It's knowing they were there, and never knowing how. What makes a house feel safe? Is it locks, security cameras, police, reassurance? Or is it simply the illusion that walls keep things out? Tonight, you heard 3 stories. A man standing on a roof like he belonged there. A face inches from a bedroom window after midnight. Footsteps inside a sealed house at 3:12 in the morning. None of them needed monsters. None of them needed the supernatural. They only needed one thing: access. And sometimes, the most disturbing truth isn't that something attacked. It's that something was close enough to watch. Close enough to listen, close enough to breathe outside a door. That's what lingers. That's what follows you to bed. Because once you experience something like that, your home changes. The air feels heavier. The silence feels louder. Every unexplained sound becomes a question mark. And the worst part? You never get answers. Who was the man on the roof? Why was someone tapping at the glass? How did footsteps echo through a locked house? Some questions don't resolve. They just sit in the dark, waiting. If you're watching this late at night, take a second. Don't look around yet. Just listen. Is your home as quiet as you think it is? Or is there a subtle sound you've been brushing off? A shift in the hallway. A light tap against glass. A faint pressure against a closed door. Most of the time, it's nothing. But sometimes, it isn't. And that uncertainty, that thin line between logic and fear, that's where Fear Spiral lives. If these stories unsettled you, if they made you question your own surroundings, then you're exactly where you are meant to be. Make sure you subscribe to Fear Spiral and turn on notifications, because the next story might hit even closer to home. And if you have ever experienced something like this, something you still can't explain, share it in the comments. We read them, and sometimes your story becomes the next spiral. Until next time, lock your doors, check your windows, and if you hear something tonight, don't assume it's nothing. Thank you for watching Fear Spiral.